Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Like Hero said, we're going to have a 30-minute kind of action-packed session on how can you use science to improve job postings and attract better candidates. So we're going to start out and walk through kind of what's the average job posting look like and why is it not as effective as it could be. Talk about using stimulus response and science to help with solution, give you a couple examples and then a worksheet that you can use. And you can always ask for our help. We'll reach out to you and help you with that for sure. So let's just jump right in, right? If you look at almost any job posting, what is it? Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a self-centered snooze fest. It's very generic. It's written kind of the same way, regardless of the job. And even though we're trying to attract people to our organization, we start talking about us at the very beginning, right? And then there's a lot of stuff about us, and then maybe we get to the responsibilities and then the job description, and you're all asleep, right? I'm not going to ask you to read this because I'll lose you, right? As a group, you don't want to do that. But this isn't, it may be accurate, but it's not compelling, right? And importantly, it's not geared towards the person who you want to be attracted to this role. And we're trying to, advertise, right? And market to other people. And yet we start with our own organization instead of starting with the person that we're trying to look at, right? Look at all of this in yellow, right? It is heavily loaded with us and our company and us and our company. We got time for that. The first thing we need to do is talk about the human that we're trying to get interested and get their attention. And once they're interested, then they are really interested in hearing about the organization, the role, etc. So instead of this, which is common but not as effective as it could be, think about this approach, which is start with them, meaning the person you're trying to attract. What is the role? What are some of the qualities and behaviors that you're looking for? Because everyone's favorite subject in the whole world is themselves, right? So let's just be realistic about that and lean into and start with them, because then they go, ooh, that sounds like me. That's interesting. I can't believe how much that sounds like me. Then, right now, they're really ready to hear more about the organization and match that up with their needs and their interests now that they're a little bit hooked with them, right? And then you can get to other things, right? What's the length of this job posting going to be? If you use PI, you know that someone with higher patience, higher detail, they might like to know lots more, and you might have that be longer. Alternatively, you get low patience, low detail, you better get to the point, right? And be more concise and capture their attention, because they may not read the whole darn thing, even though it's as important as a job. Right? They still aren't necessarily going to overcome those behaviors. So switching the cadence and the sequencing of it, if you will, in terms of let's start with them first, grab their attention, and then we can talk about us in a way that's relevant to who they are. And we're going to pay attention to what words we use and the length. And that can make a big difference. And I'll tell you a little bit about why, right? As you may know, PI, when you take a PI behavioral assessment, there's a bunch of words on there, right? And those words stimulate a person's brain. And they check those words that are most like them, and they don't check and aren't stimulated by the words that aren't them. When you're using a job posting, you can use some of that same science, meaning use the words and phrases that are going to stimulate the brain of the person that you're trying to attract. And all of a sudden, they're reading the job ad and going, man, that sounds a lot like me. I can't believe that. That's incredible. Also, the person that is the exact opposite of that, who you really don't want, reads that and goes, barf. That sounds horrible. No, thank you. Right. And you don't want them gumming up your works. And what this really is about, too, is not just improving the job targets, but how do you start getting some people who may not know about your organization or your industry or those delightful, wonderful, desirable, I'm pretty okay, sort of happily employed at the moment, but I might be interested in the right opportunity, those passive candidates that are hard to get. All of a sudden, they read yours and they go, I don't know about this Mindware place. Never heard of these folks, but gosh, this is compelling. I kind of want to learn more. That's the idea around a good job posting. Like, let's use that science, right, to help get people to go, I can't help but want to know more, right? So let's give you an example. We hired the fantastic Candace Brazier as our VP of Marketing and Client Experience. And at Mindwire, we eat our own dog food, right? We use our own stuff here. So we built the job target, right? Highly assertive, more outcome oriented, relationship outgoing, inclusive with people, fast paced and urgent and multitasking and big picture focused. So when we built the job posting, we started with her, right? So our first paragraph, this is just pulled right from the posting. We talked about her and we said, this is the person we're looking for, right? And just pulled words from our own job target to do this. And you can see, right, those things in red are underlined in red. Those are all things that are about that higher dominance outcome orientation. And it's a big deal. It's important in the job. So we talked about it a few times, right? Then what do? We wanted to appeal to her desire for people, connections, persuading, and relationships. So that's the stuff that got underlined in blue. And now we want to hit her sense of urgency, fast paced, take action, multiple challenges, right? Change gears on the fly. All of that sounds lovely to someone with a low C. And this big picture focus, right? Build something from scratch and with excellence, right? Create a whole function, strategy to execution. So all of this was done intentionally so that someone like Candace reads it and goes, boy, that sounds like me. I am really interested. And the truth of the matter is that's exactly what happened, right? Every single person that we've hired in the last 2 years had never heard of this little Mindwire place until they read the posting. And they all had the same experience to go, huh, that's really interesting. That's compelling. Our consultant job, we posted the job and did the same thing. And in 2 weeks, we had, I think, 300 or so applicants, Hero, right? We had so many, we went, okay, uncle, that's enough. We got to make our way through this kind of thing. So it gives you a different advantage to use this brain science, right? So after we talked about her, and it was the first thing we talked about, title and then about you, then what did? We talked about us, right? Now's the time to talk about us because she goes, gosh, this sounds like me. Who the heck is Mindwire, right? So then what did? We talked about things that were true about us, slightly adjusted to the things that we thought would be most resonant to someone like this. This was not 8 pages long either, right? Because this low patience, big picture may not read all of that. So what did we talk about? The kind of things that would be compelling, growth and, our accomplishments, et cetera, et cetera. And there was more to this, but what we did was we said, what's true? You always have to start, what's true? That might be more appealing to someone like this. On the other side of the coin, right? If we were looking for someone with higher detail and patience and those kind of things, we might have emphasized a little more of track record, safety, security, right? Having some structure, clarity, of role, ability to build technical expertise and approach those elements of our org that way for a different kind of person. You don't need 20 versions of this. You might have 2 versions of how you talk about your organization, and that is just way better than plain vanilla. For sure. And it's okay that you might have some things that you say to any candidate, we want to talk about this and highlight this as an organization. That's fine. But a little bit of how do you say things that reveal who you are based on who you're trying to talk to when you do get to talk about you. But this whole thing of first them, then you, with using the words that will be compelling is a way to help you kind of broaden that funnel of highly qualified candidates. We don't just want volume, right? We want people that are likely to be good at the job and highly engaged at the job. And that's where using the science can help make a difference, right? So we've done this, like I said, for everybody we've hired over the past couple of years. And in every case, when we talked to people and said, so why are you interested in the role? They said the same thing. I didn't really know about you, but I read this job posting and it was so compelling. I couldn't help but want to know more. That's it, right? We're not trying to get married with a job posting. We just want to get a first date to see if we like each other, right? And get some of those people that don't know about you, but are great to go, huh, Okay, you got me. I want to know more. Right. And those are some of those high talent folks that can be harder to pry loose from where they are because they're great folks. They have choices for sure.
Can you
So,
also talk a little bit about how this strategy helps attract people who might not have been known about a particular industry, like getting women in construction has been really successful for our clients?
yeah, that's a great point. There are a bunch of our clients who are saying, you know, there are groups that are underrepresented in their workforce. For example, women in construction. There's a lot of that. Um, it also is a way to cut through that because even some of those women who might be interested in construction, right? Maybe they don't know that this actually would be great for them and that they would be good at it and enjoy it for sure, right? So using the behaviors can also get around some of the stereotypes that we all have or some of the inherent biases we all have about who is this job for. Most importantly, the candidate who might be great at it, right? Because once they see that and see the wiring, all of a sudden they go, boy, that does sound like me, instead of a generic posting that may not be as appealing to them, right? And again, to the point Hero's making, it gets people to go, huh, well, I haven't thought about that, right? If that woman in construction has no interest in the construction industry, they're not going to go further, right? You don't have to worry about that. But if they go, I hadn't thought about that for myself before. That is kind of interesting and compelling. Huh, maybe I'll take a look, right? All of a sudden, you're accessing a candidate pool and talent that others don't have an ability to do, right? And it's what's the cost of it if it doesn't work? Nothing, right? It's no worse than anything else. There's what I love about this is there's what's the downside risk? There isn't one, right? You're changing the order and changing how you're going at it. If it's not magical and it isn't perfect, it's certainly going to be better than just doing the generic version. And our experience and what we hear from clients is it works. And how do you know? When you start interviewing people, you ask them, why did you get interested? How'd you hear about us? And I'm telling you, they're going to go, I read this posting. I just couldn't help it. Sound like me. So I had to know more. That's a really good indicator if some of this is working for sure. So, um, and you can think about that too from other areas, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, et cetera. How do you reach people and speak to them the way that they may not have thought about you, right? Whether it's an industry or a function or they just don't know your particular org. Okay, right? Easy way to stand out. You're already in that space for sure. So we're going to go out here and look at a job ad and take a peek at it and say, in the event that you don't have a job target built, right? Because if I go back for a second, all of these words and phrases are coming as a result of the fact that we've built a job target to say, here's the behaviors we want in the job, right? And the super easy button is the words are already there. We can just pull them and use them in this process. But even if you didn't have a job target, because maybe you're not a client of ours yet, or maybe you don't have a job target built, you don't have a job target built and you're a client, let's help you with that. You can use this approach and methodology, right? So here's a job posting, right? Digital marketing strategist. Minimum qualifications, preferred qualifications about the job, responsibilities. I couldn't imagine something more vanilla or generic than this, right? It's okay. I mean, it tells you some things, but it is in no way going to reach out to certain people over others. And by the way, this is Google. They're pretty good at data. They ought to know better, right? For sure. They're probably listening to me. And if I don't show up to work tomorrow, you'll know that you really ought to be concerned about this. But seriously, right? This is not a great posting, but it's not uncommon. It's not terrible. It's okay. But who's it going to speak to, right? Only the people that kind of have the technically correct exact qualifications and responsibilities. They're the ones who are going to see themselves in this for sure. But what could you do with this? Well, let's show you, right? Let's walk through that a little bit. Here's what you could do. Excuse me. Because when you think about what they're talking about here, we're going to use this worksheet, and Hero's going to provide this, or already has provided it to you in the chat. This is a worksheet you can use to just help you quickly get to, how do I create a job posting? Even if I don't have this job target already built, right? So the job target, using PI stuff, we want someone who's a little more harmonious, lower on their dominance, more relationship outgoing, sense of urgency, and lots of precision in the job. So, right, you can check harmonious, outgoing, urgent, precise. Looking at the job posting, you go, they got to do relationships, some strategy, storytelling, communications, detailed and accurate. Okay. So how could we then translate that into some words and put in about you that would start speaking to someone a little bit better, right? You pride yourself on high quality products and services. You work thoroughly, leaving nothing to chance. High detail orientation, right? Conscientious and cooperative team player. That harmonious piece, along with that higher relationship, more extroverted behavior, right? Relationships, communication. And then you like to work at a faster than average pace, high sense of urgency. There's nothing really wrong with them providing qualifications and an outline of the role, et cetera. But, they've done nothing to really kind of say, here's you and here's what we're looking for. So this little form that we've put in there can be a way for you to quickly kind of think about that in the event that you don't have a job target built, right? Or if you're not our client and you want to say, hey, I'm not a client, but I want to take some action on this and use this, fantastic. This form can help you do that, right? And it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory, but I'll say this, which is, if you are a client and you want to build some job targets on some jobs you're posting and want our help with how to do this, let us know, right? Call us. We're here for that. We want to help you with that. If you're not our client, we'll do the same thing for you, right? We'll help you build a job target and build this job posting. No charge, no obligation, no salesperson will bug the heck out of you, right? We want to help you get some value out of this for sure. So this tool, for those of you who are do-it-yourselfers and don't have the job target at hand, knock yourself out. But we're here to help you with any of that. Now, is there an easier version of doing this than the worksheet? There is, right? When you build a job target in our PI software, here's the digital marketing strategist. The job actually tells you, right? There's a section that says, here's what they like hearing. It doesn't get easier than that, right? What should be in your about you stuff and about your organization? Some of these things, right? Where can you highlight that's what you're looking for and that's what they're going to get? And then where did we pull the language for Candace's about you section for her marketing job? There's this nice summary, right? Which is this narrative. And you're going to pull some of those words and phrases that you really want to highlight in the about you section. And you're going to have this inform what areas about our organization and culture might we want to highlight, right? We always want to start with the truth. And there's going to be some universal things you'll say to any applicant in any job posting, probably. But then how do you highlight some things that might be most valuable for someone who is looking, right, at your organization? So that at least you might have two versions, right? For the PI clients on here, you might have a low C and D version of how you talk about, and high A and B, how you talk about your org. And then maybe you have the opposite. How do we talk about our org for our low A, B, high C, D jobs, right? And the high A and B, low C and D, the length of it should be shorter. Get to the point. They might not read all of it, right? They're going fast. And then the high C, D, low A, B, you can be more thorough and exacting and go longer because they're probably going to read the whole thing and not once, right? Especially when it sounds like them. But it doesn't need to be too complicated. If you just started with 2 ways to talk about your org, winning, right? And you pull some of these summary sentences, not every one of them, that you go, yeah, that's the most important stuff we really want in a person. And then you use the like hearing stuff to say, did we get some of that in the about you? And did we also talk about these areas that are true about our organization? So this is even easier than the worksheet, right? But takes building a job target or having one in place. But once you've got that, it's a little bit of copy and paste kind of work, and you can put this together pretty quickly for sure. So I want to just go back here for a quick second, which is so that you kind of see the job summary right back here. All of this stuff came from that they will like hearing and that summary section. And we didn't put all of it in here, right? Because we're talking about a low patience, low detail person. We just tried to hit the highlights and make sure we hit the 4 behaviors that we were needing roughly equally in the sense of what we're looking for. The about you, right? You can put some other things in there for sure, right? This culturally is really important to us in anyone, right? We want to have some fun. Life is short. That's important value for us here. And so you probably see that in almost any job posting that we have. So it doesn't mean you can't do some of those things too. It just means let's have this science make it easy, right? And now you're just changing the dynamic for sure. So talk a little bit about this program. So we have a workshop called the Data-Driven Recruiter. This is for people in that recruiting function. And it, among other things, right, it helps them understand things like this, but very practice heavy, intensive, made for those talent acquisition recruiting pros to help them really, really get good and deep practice at looking at and how to make sure job targets are good, how to evaluate candidates against job targets. They get a lot of practice with their own and your own job targets, as well as then how do we help them with the best practices of how can I use PI data as a part of the recruiting process, not just to increase the funnel of candidates, but also help them increase their own efficiency. Sometimes this can feel like maybe it's more time and extra step. Best practices around that say recruiters can save time doing this well. We teach them some of those best practices as well as how to really become a good advisor to hiring managers, right? Because when they can understand, here's who's coming on board, here's their likely strengths, here's some things that you might want to coach and watch out for, as well as here's how they're going to be motivated and here's how they can build a connection. It can help recruiters and talent acquisition people just change their impact with hiring managers. And there is a little piece in there too where we help with how do I keep score? Meaning, how do I look at and evaluate how our hiring decisions came out? Because for lots of recruiters, they have the feeling of, I've done my best, I've advised my hiring managers, and then they don't make right decisions and they come back and point the finger at me. Well, let's use data to help your org learn and get better, right? To go, when we hire people who are a terrible fit for the job and it doesn't work out, I don't want to say I told you so, but I do want to say I told you so a little bit so we can learn and get better and make better decisions. So this workshop is very specific to recruiters, talent acquisition, people in hiring. If you want to know more about it, absolutely grab it off of our website and we can talk to you more about it. We've had great feedback from folks who've come in terms of just increasing their confidence about how to use this strategically in recruiting and hiring. So here, do we have some questions here before we wrap up?
Yeah, go ahead and toss any questions that you have in the chat for us to answer. We do have one question that was sent in. It's what's your expertise on putting in all the job duties and responsibilities into the job posting versus trimming it down to keep it shorter for those people who have that shorter attention span?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about a person that is going to be lower on their C, patience, and D, detail, you want to make sure there's enough, meaning what are the critical pieces of the roles and responsibilities, right? The most important 5 or 6 things, the outcomes they must deliver. What are the most important 5 or 6 or 7 bullets around the responsibilities and the role, right? They still want to know enough for sure to know, am I interested? Does this sound good or not? But trying to hit everything for that person, not great. On the opposite side, particularly higher patience, higher detail, they want to know more. So you actually can be helpful to them by not just hitting the critical few, but being more exacting and thorough about what are all the outcomes you want? What is a more thorough list of responsibilities and role description? They will likely take time to read it, and not once, usually a couple, 3 times. So on the lower C and D person, lower patience, lower need for detail, it still needs to be enough that they go, I really understand what's important, right? A good litmus test is to go, if they delivered on the 5 or 6 bullets you talked about, would they be fully successful in the role? And if some other things weren't perfect, would you still go, yes, they hit a home run? If you talked about the 5 or 6 responsibilities versus the deliverables, if they did those parts of the job well, would they be successful, even if there's some other, marginal things that they didn't do perfectly? That's a good thing to do for a low CD posting. High CD, you can put as much as you have in there. That doesn't always mean everything, just as much as you have. Be as thorough as you can. And that will help those folks go, great, let's go. You can put more in the low CD posting. They're just not going to really read it or pay attention to it. Once they get the big picture, they're like, I want to talk, let's go, right? Or I'm interested, let's go. So it's not that you can't have those conversations later. I wouldn't put them in the posting unless you want them not read or paid attention to, because that's what's going to happen for sure.
Right.
Here are other questions?
We don't have any other questions yet. People are being a little shy, but go ahead and feel free to add that question in the chat. Tom, we'll just get ready to wrap things up.
Yeah, I think one of the things here is that I love about this is the simplicity, right? Just change the sequencing. Start with them, then talk about your organization. That just is different, and we've seen it really work so well. And then put in some of the behaviors of what the person is like, and all of a sudden that stimulus response science, we can't help it as humans. It pings our brain, right? So that's what I love about this, and I think it's such a great topic. Like, that's not hard. Let's just do that, and then see what happens with your results and your impact. And it's great, right? So you got this form in the chat, the worksheet. If you need that, great. Job targets, if you have them, awesome. If you don't, whether you're a client or not a client, let us help you, right? We'll reach out, we'll help you build a job target, we'll help you write these job postings. And once we do a couple with you, you'll go, got it, I'm off and running for sure. So reach out to us. We're happy to do that and help you with that for sure. And anything else you want, of course. And as Hiro was saying here, you'll get the recording and a little hiring ebook on this to help you go forward with that for sure. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes. Yeah. Danya, you bet. You got it for sure. And I'm going to spend a couple minutes if anyone wants to hang around for a little 5-minute conversation on AI, because a good question is this, right? Which is, could AI just write this for me? We live in an AI world. So if you have a couple minutes and you're interested, we're going to have a 5-minute convo on that. If you have to run, thank you for joining us. Hopefully it was valuable for you. And please call, reach out, email, let us help you with this, because we're really happy to do so. So AI, can it write it for me? As you know, what AI does is it takes stuff from the internet and the world and the web, and it's going to write. And a lot of people are using it to say, can you write a paragraph? Can you give me a sentence on those kind of things? And I think we've all found like that can be a helpful tool. In this instance, it's possible it might help you write a little better job description or make that easier. But the science of PI is in a closed algorithm, right? It's not AI. And that science is based on, 60 some years of research on behavior and stimulus response. So AI might help write a better version of what you're doing or give you some ways to think about that. But what it won't do is hit those stimulus response items and hit the right motivating needs. AI won't know how to do that, if you will, the way that PI science does. And that's what makes it different, right? The secret sauce is someone reads the job ad and they go, gosh darn, that sounds like me. This is weird. This is crazy. Or they read it and they go, vomit. I hate the sound of that. No, thank you. Both of those are winning, right? We don't want to put people in a position to come into the org and try to major in their minors and do stuff they're not great at all day, all week, all month, all year. That's not good. So we actually do want people that are the opposite not to come through your pipeline. But for the people that are, the science of these motivating needs, this reptilian part of the brain that hits stimulus, those words need to be built in the right way, which is what the PI science does for you. So AI might help you draft a better version of what you're doing, or give you some ideas and shortcut it, but it's not going to contain the right stimulus response science. And that's the magic of how do I attract, people that are like this, that people that Hero mentioned. Maybe they're not thinking about this. Maybe they're a passive candidate. Maybe they don't know about my org. And so I'm not saying AI can't be helpful, but it's not going to replicate what a good job target and that stimulus response science is going to do with PI. And again, so if you don't have it, you're not a PI client, reach out. We'll help you with this. And if you are, reach out. We'll help you with this. And once we help you write a couple, you'll go, I got it. No problem. I know what to do. I know how to pull the right stuff and go from there. So thanks for joining us. If there aren't any more questions, hope you have a great rest of your week. And as always, we're here and want to nerd out with you on this. So let us know how we can do that and help you. And we'll talk to you soon. I think I didn't mention this, but our next mini workshop is about how do I help develop employees without a career path, meaning don't have a defined career path yet, or maybe it's uncertain. So how can we still do this development piece? So that's on May 9th. You'll get an invite to that May mini workshop. It's right there in the chat. And again, thank you all for being with us today. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Talk with you soon.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to talking with you soon. You will get the recording, the worksheet, the ebook in your email later today or first thing tomorrow. To answer your questions, Sue, the data-driven recruiter, the next one we have scheduled is going to be virtual. So for all of our out-of-town friends, you can absolutely attend. Check that out on our website and look at the dates. We've got one scheduled up in just a few months, so you can get registered for that as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And on the data-driven recruiter, if they've been to the Drive Results Workshop previously as a grad, they actually get a very nice discount to come to the Data-Driven Recruiter Workshop. So anyone that's gone through Drive Results before, they get a nice deal coming to the DDR, Data-Driven Recruiter Workshop. And they love it. We've gotten rave reviews on it from our clients who've gone through it. So happy to talk more about that with you if you have more questions.
Okay,
all right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest
Thanks,
of your
everyone.
day.